Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the virtual town hall call with Mike Parks on this Tuesday, December 17th.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. And first, let me thank everybody for taking time out of your schedule to be with us today. Thank you. And I also would be remiss if I didn't thank you for all the wonderful work you've all done throughout 2019 to help us meet the Red Cross mission. So the purpose of today's call is to really keep everyone informed about the changes that are going on throughout not only our region but the Red Cross with what's called field alignment. And our goal is really to maintain this two-way communication. So, after I go over a couple points, I would certainly like to open it up for any questions that you have so that I can do my best to address your questions as well as to see what else we have. I'm going to take a break here for a minute because Jim wants to say something.
I just want to once again thank you all, and please mute your phones until Mike asks for the question and answer period. There's a lot of noise on the line and it's hard for everybody to hear. So please mute your phones until we ask for questions on today's call. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. So a couple of things just to let people know. I think we sent out some information that we've previously shared, and I want to make sure that you're aware of that. That is one thing we sent out is a divisional map. We sent out a map of as we changed from 7 regions to 6. So we here in Northern Ohio, which will be our new name, will be part of the Central Atlantic Division. The Crossroads Division, where we've been part of, one of the 7 divisions in the Red Cross, will cease to exist as we know it, and we will move with 4 other regions over to the Central Atlantic. So that's one big change. And then the other thing that I think we've already sent out to you is the regional proposed chapter map for Northern Ohio. I say proposed because that regional map has been what we have submitted with 5 chapters, but we do not have, at this point, we do not have approval from headquarters. We anticipate that will come sometime during the beginning of January. We should get some more information on that. So one of the things I want to let you know is that this whole field alignment is really hopefully allowing us to more closely link our efforts between the lines of service, specifically, between Biomed and, the chapter side of the house where we have, been a little more disjointed. We will be a little more integrated and collaborative, and we will use this integrated community engagement model to try to help make us more successful as an organization at what's been termed as One Red Cross. So that's one of the things that's going to be done. And one of the reasons someone asked me, why are we having a town hall? Well, I'll tell you, we're having this discussion, virtual as it is, because one of the things that we've heard from you on our volunteer surveys is really that you'd like more feedback and want to provide an opportunity to have that two-way dialogue. So this is really us hearing what you've had to say to us and trying to be responsive to that. So a couple other things to let you know, that our new regional name, instead of Northeast Ohio, will actually be the Northern Ohio region, and it will encompass 31 counties from Ashtabula over past Toledo, and it'll go all the way over to Fulton County, down to Putnam County, and then back over to the east to Harrison. We will be losing Richland County and Jefferson County as we gain another, 11 counties to the west. One of the other counties we're going to be gaining is Monroe County, which is the southeastern tip of Michigan. And we are gaining that because that is right adjacent to Toledo and has a very, very close relationship and an affinity for that city. So Lucas County and Monroe County are side by side and work very closely together.
We will be coming to you for questions very shortly, but until we do, please, everyone, mute your phones to eliminate excess noise on the line. Please mute your phones. Thank you.
So, just to make it clear, Jefferson County is going to be moving to West Virginia, to the West Virginia region, and Richland County will be moving to the central southern Ohio region. And for those of you that are interested, Ohio, which had 3 regions at one point, will have 2 now. Northern Ohio and then central southern Ohio. Those will be the 2 regions in the state of Ohio. Your regional leadership team here will not change. The same people that you currently are aware of will continue. And one of the things I want to let you know is that we'll have 5 actual chapters that we will incorporate, and there will be some changes to that, as you saw on the chapter map, and we hopefully will have more information about that. You know, hopefully we will have some additional information on who will actually lead those chapters. We don't have that information yet. That process will take place in the beginning of the new year. So I know some of you are certainly interested in who will be leading those chapters. As you can imagine, so are our EDs interested in that. But we will have more information about that in January when the process becomes available. We'll also be working through some departmental adjustments, but the good news is many staff members, there will be very few staff members that will be impacted through this realignment. You know, one of the things I guess I would stress for all of you as volunteers is it really, no matter what region or chapter or division we're part of, the one thing that will not change is certainly the Red Cross mission and your participation in that. As you know, 90% of what we do in the Red Cross is done by you, the volunteers, and your commitment to that mission, your dedication to that mission of serving and serving others, helping save lives and prevent and alleviate human suffering is critically important. And I just want to say a thank you to all of you for your continued commitment to that, regardless of what chapter boundaries exist. So the other thing I want to let you know is somebody asked me, when will all this take place? And I will tell you, to the best of my knowledge, the date that has been circulated will be April 6th. So that will be April 6th is when we will actually pivot. But I will tell you that our metrics, our goals for things like the number of smoke alarms or the revenue that we need to raise, things like that, will not be impacted. We will follow through till the end of the year, the end of the fiscal year with our metrics. So that will not change. So that's kind of a broad overview, and I'd really rather spend more time answering your questions about the things that you're interested in. Obviously, if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you that, and certainly if I can find out, I will let you know that as well. So with that, let me turn it over to Jim McIntyre to work us through these questions, if any of you have them.
All right, everyone. Thank you, and thanks, Mike. And I want you to know who is in the room today. We have all 4 of our chapter executive directors, Karen Conklin from Lake to River, Lara Kiefer from Lake Erie Heartland, Rachel Telegdi from the Summit Portage Medina County chapters, and Kim Crow from Stark and Muskingum Lakes, along with your regional leadership team. We're all here and able to answer any questions that you may have, but obviously this is a town hall call with your CEO, Mike Parks. So please, if you have a question, unmute your phone and ask your question, but if you're not asking the question, please keep your phones on mute. And we can begin right now with a question. Does anyone have a question for Mike Parks or anyone else in the room?
This is Debbie Grinstein. Guess I'm going to start. I even waited a second to hear if anybody else wanted to ask a question first. But anyway, hi, Mike. Hi, everybody. So my question is almost 2 parts, but what is the plan for leadership for whether it's for the Akron and Mahoning Valley chapter or, what is that local relevance and how is that going to be played out?
Debbie, thanks so much for your question. I really appreciate that. Actually, I hope to actually see you tomorrow night. If Karen's throwing a party, I don't want to miss it. But
Okay.
so the short answer is, there will be an executive director responsible for this chapter that is the Greater Akron Mahoning Valley chapter, and there will be one executive director responsible for that. And one of the requirements of that job is, similar to the executive directors now, have multiple counties to be responsible for. There will be activity, and that local relevance is not going to go anywhere. As far as each county, each community will be important and will be served, whether it's through the disaster cycle services team, the fundraising team, volunteer services, service to the armed forces, all the different lines of service, and from the regional staff as well as the chapter executive will continue to support the different areas, Debbie, including obviously the Mahoning Valley, an important part of our region, as honestly all of our communities are. So I think that it may be a little different, but in the way it's set up. But I think that we will continue to support, and we're going to rely heavily on our community volunteer leaders and those leaders like yourself in the community to keep the Red Cross story alive and well in our various counties around this area. I think the fact that you are committed to us, that's not going to change because of some boundary lines. And I want to say thank you publicly for your leadership as a board chair, and how you'll continue to be supportive going forward. I hope that's responsive.
Well, it is. Will there be a Mahoning Valley Advisory Board? Will there be one board with double the amount of people on it? Any idea? I know I'm asking questions that are maybe not answerable yet.
They're great questions, Debbie. I would tell you they're great questions, and how we're actually going to, until there's an executive director determined, I would hate to be prescriptive and tell that person how we're going to run that chapter in a vacuum. I'd like to have them involved in that. I'd like to have the leadership, of that chapter involved. And I think how that works. I think we have to be careful about having too many disparate groups. We want to bring groups together and try to do that as much as we can, but not lose, to your point about local relevance. There are issues that are localized, and we want to be sensitive to that. So I don't think, I think your questions are good. I think my answers would be premature. I think we will certainly do everything we can to keep people focused on the mission and how to best accomplish it in the various chapters as they're going to be arrayed in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Next question, please, for Mike Parks. Go ahead and unmute your phone if you're going to ask a question, but keep your phone on mute if you're not asking right now. Next question, please.
Hey, Jim, Mark Klein, Cleveland.
Hi, Mark, go ahead.
Okay, let me make sure you can hear me. I understand this is a major project that we're going through, and a lot of things are going to be decided bits by bits and pieces by pieces. And one question I've got is, since we're expanding and rearranging, is there a place on the EDGE website somewhere that as decisions are made, staffing, positions, I don't know what generically I can say, but people can be informed of what's happening along the way as decisions are made? You said there's not going to be much changes done, but there are some changes coming. Be sure we know who we're going to be looking forward to working with, and just keeping everybody informed of the changes as they go, realizing that we just can't flip a switch one day and be NEO today and then tomorrow we're going to be NOR.
Hey, Mark, it's Mike. Thanks for your question. And I think let me answer that by saying that this is one of the reasons we're having this call. We're having this call to help inform people because up until this past week or so, we haven't had some of this information. And, I think people are used to using the phrase, we're building the plane while we're flying it. And I get that. And I would add that we might even be trying to design the plan for the plane while we're building it, while we're flying it. And I think that's a little bit challenging for everybody. I think we're being very sensitive to try to tell you what we know when we know it, recognizing there's a lot, and some of it's being. I will tell you, there's countless work streams and work groups working right now to try to answer some of these questions. I've certainly empowered the department heads to share with their teams what they know, and we just had another leadership team meeting with all the chapter executives as well, and we talk about these things as much as we can. We share out on Volunteer Connection, as much as we can, and try to do that. We will continue to use this model to allow people this opportunity. This conversation is actually being taped so that it can be put on Volunteer Connection and be available for other folks who weren't able to make the time to be part of the call. So we're very sensitive to what you're raising here, Mark, and we'll do our level best. We have to be careful that we don't I guess you can't over communicate, but sometimes we don't want to be too noisy as a bunch of things are in the decision-making process. We're trying to wait till we have some definitive decisions. And I didn't want to wait to not have this call before the end of the year and before the holidays, because there's just enough, concern and activity going on. And I thought we were close enough to getting the regional chapter boundaries approved. I got some, confirmation that we should hear those approvals come January, so I didn't want to wait. So we'll continue to do our level best to let people know. But obviously, I would say to all the volunteers on the call, please don't hesitate to reach out to whoever it is you work with, whoever you're involved in, whether that's a disaster program manager or a chapter executive or the volunteer services folks. Anybody that you have a question about, let's make sure to keep the lines of communication open. I want you to, and if we don't know the answer, we'll tell you that too. I'm not afraid to say I don't know. It's a lot better than making stuff up.
Oh, absolutely, Mike. It's just, as well as I do, in an organization this big, rumors start real quick, real fast. And that's why if we had something hard, I would just say that we could point somebody to the facts, not the rumors. That's all I was worried about.
Well, Mark, you can count on me to tell you the facts as I know them. I'm not a big fan of rumors, and I try to squash them when I hear them. So, and I appreciate your efforts to do the same. I always try to ask people, where'd you hear that? Where'd you get that? And usually I find out that somebody made that up. But I appreciate your point, and I really look forward to continuing to provide as much information as possible. And I think it's in the new year we're going to get some more. So we'll set up another one of these calls as soon as that's appropriate. But thanks for your comments. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Next question, please. If you would, identify yourself and the chapter you work with. Is there another question?
Mike, it's Pam Williams, Summit Portage in Medina.
Hi, Pam.
Just wonder, hi, Mike. We're looking at the proposed chapter map, and I think we're moving forward, assuming that that's going to be approved. Are you at all twisty about the fact that it may not be?
Pam, I'm I never want to assume anything, because you know what happens when you do that. But I personally have a high degree of confidence that this map, as we set it up, and specifically what I would consider the Greater Akron Mahoning Valley chapter, made up of Medina, Summit, Portage, Trumbull, Mahoning, and Columbiana counties, to be one that will come to pass. I have no indication that it won't, but I have to be very mindful that I have not been given permission to say it's been finally approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for all that you do for us.
Thanks, Pam. Does anyone else have a call? If you do, please unmute your phone, identify yourself with your name and your chapter affiliation.
Hi, this is Patty Green, Northern Ohio region, and I apologize if this has been asked before, but how will this affect the number of employees?
We're having a bit of a hard time hearing you. I think you said your name is Patty?
Patty, yes. Patty, good afternoon. And I think I heard you say, how will it affect the number of employees?
Yes.
So this, I will tell you, this was not done as a job reduction or a personnel reduction effort. There may be there will be a couple people that will potentially be not in their current positions. There'll be a couple people who won't be in their current positions, but by and large, we will have 45 staff members currently, and we will have 55 staff members when this ends at the end of the day, because we're gaining some additional resources. The goal for this was to not have anyone lose their job, but to find other places in the organization for people who might be, displaced. But that was not the plan, to have anybody displaced. I think it will happen. I think there'll be a couple people displaced. We've had a couple people that have, taken other positions. I think that can still happen in the coming months. But I think that this was not driven by a cost reduction due to personnel reduction.
Does that answer your question,
Okay,
Patty?
thank you. Pardon me?
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Please, once again, a reminder to mute your phones unless you are the one asking the next question. And the next questioner can go ahead, please, with your name and chapter affiliation. Are there any more questions for Mike Parks?
Hi, this is Cindy Gordon, and I am actually in Richland County. So if I understand it correctly, Richland County will be in the Central Southern Division. Is that right?
Cindy, that's correct. It'll be in the central southern region of Ohio, working with our colleagues to the south. But, I think one of the things to keep in mind is our volunteers work with different people right now in different areas depending on what the need is. And I think that we have a great relationship with our colleagues to the south, and we will continue to do that moving forward. Obviously, during the beginning months of this, there'll be some transitional time. We'll work together with the different volunteers and the volunteer leaders and the staff. But we've got, plans in place to work through that and kind of talking through that with different leaders in the region. And one of the things that we'll be doing is, transitioning our different responsibilities. Our chapter execs have already talked about that, and we'll continue to do that. Laura Kiefer, has worked with her counterpart, Rod Cook, in that area. And I think, obviously our goal will be to make it as seamless as possible. The mission won't change. Some of the reporting structure might with regard to who the different volunteers are working with. But I also think there'll be an opportunity to stay very closely connected because right now, one of the things that happens quite frequently throughout our region is people cross, chapter boundaries and county boundaries quite frequently throughout the region. I don't think that'll stop, and I think we've got good relationships with our folks down south, so I don't anticipate that to change either, Cindy.
Okay, thank you very much. Good to hear.
Thank you for your efforts.
Thanks, Cindy. Does anyone else have a question for Mike Parks today? If so, unmute your phone. Please identify yourself and your chapter affiliation. Any other questions for Mike Parks?
Hi, Jim and Mike. This is Eileen Guy from Lake Erie, Heartland.
Hi, Eileen. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you. Just to be clear, our region will be expanding way to the west and into some counties that are not currently with us. Just clarifying, you said that the staff size, the paid staff, will go from 45 to 55. that will be incorporating those people from what is now probably the Northwest region. Those people will be absorbed into and have a role and a position within the new Northern Ohio region. Is that right?
Eileen, that is correct. We will be taking, what's currently the Northwest chapter, and that will remain the Northwest chapter. It'll change from its current configuration. I'll add a few more counties than it currently has. Actually, it's adding 3 counties, Fulton, Henry, and Monroe, but that chapter network will stay in place, as well as, the chapter positions out of Findlay, Ohio, which is in Hancock County. We will be taking some of those people as well. So those additional bodies will be coming with us as part of the Northern Ohio region. They don't necessarily be moving. One of the things about this this realignment is there's not very much staff movement. Most of the staff is staying intact, in place, in their positions. Like I said, there's only very few people that are going to be impacted in a way where they may be moving their work location, but that's very minor. So those folks are coming to be part of the Northern Ohio region. Those 11 counties to the west are coming our way. That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Eileen, thank you for the very thoughtful note. I appreciate that the other day. Thank you.
Well, I think everyone else on the call needs to know what that note was about.
We don't need to do that, Eileen. We're good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Eileen. Once again, to remind everyone to please mute your phone unless you're the next one answering a question. And if you have a question for Mike Parks, please go ahead with your name and chapter affiliation. Any more questions for Mike Parks on the call today?
Okay, well, listen, I don't want to, although I could sit here like the teacher that's waiting for the question in the classroom, I won't do that to you. But I do have a couple things I'd like to close with before we sign off. And that is, again, to thank you for all your efforts, and thank you for taking the time today. I want to thank the leadership around the room here for their great efforts, whether it's the department heads or the chapter executives for their great work and the efforts out there. And to our volunteers on the call, I just want to say thank you. And I want to wish everyone just a wonderfully, joyous and blessed Christmas holiday season. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you, too, that this holiday season, as we think about, 2020, people think about that as a vision, perfect vision. I will tell you, we have a lot of clarity for our new vision for the year 2020, and I'm excited about that in this season of hope and excitement. I will tell you, I'm looking forward to this new year and working with all of you as we go forward. It'll be exciting times, and so I just want you to know that if there are questions, don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us here or to me personally if you'd like. But I really can't thank you enough for not only what you have done, but what you will do, and wishing all of you a wonderful holiday season and a great 2020. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.